Hello everyone, in this video we are going to learn about the CSS box sizing. This CSS box sizing property allows us to include the padding and border in an element's total width and height. That means if you consider our previous box model, this thing, right? And by default the width and height of an element is calculated like width plus padding plus and this border. This entire thing will be considered as the padding width. Okay, total width of an actual element. Okay, this actual width and padding and this both padding, right? And this both padding and the border, this entire thing will be considered as an actual width of an element. And if you consider about the height, the actual height, the content height and the padding and the border will all be considered as the actual height of an element. Okay, this means when you set the width or height of an element, the element often appears bigger than you have set because the element's borders and the paddings will be added to the element's specified width or height. If I take you to our project file, see here, this is our project file, right? This is our asset element, right? If I inspect this thing, I'm inspecting it. See here we have this asset element, right? I'm opening this asset element, and if you consider this entire asset element width is 300 and the height is 421.5, right? We have here the content width and the total width occupied by this asset element is 300. For example, if we add some particular padding to this, I am adding for my border chart, I'm adding my padding as 0 to the top and bottom and 10 pixels to the left and right. If I include that padding, see here, we have content width as 300, right? And we have included the padding as 10 pixels for the left and the right of the content, right? This green color highlighted thing was the padding, right? We are considering the 10 pixels of padding to the left and right side of that content. But if you see this entire asset element, this entire asset element will have the total width of this 300 plus this 10 and plus this 10. That means we have total actual element width as 320. Okay, we have 320 elements width. That means when you apply some width to our particular element, the element appears bigger than the width value you have set. Okay, we have actually set the width of an element as 300, but if you include the padding to that particular element, those two paddings and the border, if you include the border element also, those borders will also be added upon to our particular element. Okay, this is the general thing. To avoid those conflicts in our element, we have box sizing property. What that is actual means is, if we increase the border size, for example, I am refreshing my page, it will be automatically set to our general designing, and I am opening our Visual Studio Code Editor. For that particular border chart, where here I'm adding some padding, right? I'm adding my padding to the left and right, top and bottom as 0, and my padding to the left and right as I'm taking 50 pixels of padding. Okay, and I am opening our page. If you observe carefully, I am removing this thing. If I refresh the page, see, the thing will be gone from here because there is no particular space for that actual element to place over here, because we have included the padding of 50 pixels for the left and right. So the actual width of this element is 300 pixels and we are including the padding to the left and right as 50. That means the total width of an element will be increased to 400 pixels, which is not sufficient to place over here, right? So that the element will be jumped to here. Okay, for example, if you inspect thing now, see here, the actual width of the element is 300 pixels and we are including the padding of 50 pixels, which is highlighted with the green color for the left and right of the particular element. Those padding dimensions will also be included to our actual width of the element. That means here we have totally the width of 400 pixels for the element. Okay, which is not sufficient to place over here. To avoid that conflict in our web page, we have box sizing. For example, if I open our Visual Studio Code Editor, I am including my box sizing property and I am giving the property value as border box. I am opening our folder. I am removing this thing. If I'm going to refresh, see, the things will be as it is like we want, because even though we are having the actual width of the element as 300 pixels and we have padding of 50 pixels from the left and right side. If we inspect the thing now, I'm going to our asset element, which is having borders.id. See here, we have 300 pixels of width and we have padding of 50 pixels from the left and right, and we have applied box sizing property here with a border box. If you see our CSS box model, see, now the total width will be allocated for the 300 pixels. That means generally we are giving the width as 300 pixels, but here it will be displayed as 200 pixels only, because this padding width, the dimensions of the padding to the left and right side with the 50 pixels of value will be comes under this total width. That means this total width of 300 pixels will be considered all the padding and the border values. That means here we have 200 pixels and we have left as 50 pixels and right as 50 pixels. That means completely we have total width of an element as 300 pixels. Okay, for example, if I remove this box sizing and if you consider this, we have 300 pixels of, see here, we have 300 pixels of content width and we have 50 pixels left and right padding, and if I include that box sizing property, those two values will not be considered. Okay, see here, we have only 200 pixels of width and we have padding of 50 pixels from the left and 50 pixels of right on the both sides. That means we are neglecting the padding and the border values here. If we include any border value, those also will be neglecting in our actual width of the element. Okay, this is the thing I want to share with you in this video, and we will catch up in the next videos. Thank you.